Zexmore's trembling digit hovered over the emergency shutdown command. 27 standard cycles of analyzing stellar background radiation had never prepared the senior analyst for this moment. Analysis at 73%, the system's melodic voice announced, as if it weren't processing something impossible. Around Zexmore, the detection array's curved walls displayed a three-dimensional model of the signal's origin. An unremarkable yellow star with a cluttered system of 8 planets. The third rock had been classified as pre-integration, a biosphere supporting primitive organics who had barely escaped their atmosphere. Completion in 15 micronits. Zexmore's secondary heart began a stress rhythm as the holographic representation of the signal pulsed in the center of the chamber, originally dismissed as background noise. Ordinary radio waves carrying simplistic binary code. Deeper analysis had revealed alarming patterns within the seemingly random bursts. Display preliminary conclusions, Zexmore commanded. The system obliged, projecting a translucent screen filled with probability calculus. Zexmore's 6 eyes widened, all pupils dilating simultaneously. Verification required, Zexmore whispered. Signal confirmed to contain solution pathways for 3 classified grand impossibilities, the system replied. Trinary quantum computing paradox resolved with 99.7% certainty. Von Neumann entropy barrier circumvented with 98.2% certainty. Axiomatic independence proof 4. Zexmore slammed a bony hand onto the emergency termination pad. The analysis chamber fell silent, the only sound the rapid clicking of Zexmore's breathing apparatus working overtime. Impossible. The grand impossibilities weren't merely difficult computational problems. They were the fundamental limitations that had shaped coalition technological development for 50,000 years. Entire civilizations had burned out trying to solve them. Yet here they were, casually embedded in what appeared to be a routine signal check from a primitive probe launched by beings who still killed each other over mineral rights. Zexmore's communicator pulsed with an incoming priority message. First Counselor Drevmar himself. The message bypassed 3 layers of bureaucracy. It contained only 5 words. Security Council. Now, say nothing. The Security Council chamber, nestled within the Coalition's mobile capital ship, had never felt so suffocating. 17 representatives, 1 from each Coalition species, sat in terraced rings surrounding the presentation sphere where Zexmore stood, feeling conspicuously alone. You violated analysis protocols, Coordinator Lithvar stated. Her gelatinous form shimmered with irritation phosphors. Explain. The signal contains mathematical approaches we've declared impossible, Zexmore said simply. A ripple of communication signals, both audible and electromagnetic, swept through the chamber. These humans, rumbled Kador, the massive representative of the Vrol Imperium, they've achieved this level of computational theory while still burning hydrocarbons. Worse, Zexmore replied, manipulating the holographic display to show the source of the signal. This was embedded in a routine probe calibration sequence. They don't even recognize what they've discovered. It appears accidental. This revelation triggered immediate uproar. Accidental discoveries were unprecedented in Coalition history. Computational breakthroughs came through centuries of methodical advancement, not by stumbling upon solutions like finding valuable minerals in excrement. If they don't understand what they've found, asked Thel Sima, the avian representative, perhaps the threat is overstated. First Counselor Drevmar rose from his seat, his ancient exoskeleton creaking with the movement. The chamber immediately fell silent. When my species discovered the quantum entanglement paradox, he said quietly, we believed we had 3 centuries to develop safeguards. We had less than 1. Of the 12 billion Arhans who once existed, I am the last. He turned his compound eyes toward the holographic Earth. Activate Protocol Containment 9, he commanded. No ship enters or leaves their system. Prepare extinction contingencies. No one objected. The vote was unanimous. Humanity's days were numbered, and they didn't even know it. Dr. Eliza Chen's coffee splashed across her keyboard as the monitors in NASA's Deep Space Communication Lab flashed red. She barely noticed the scalding liquid soaking through her jeans. "We've lost Voyager 3, announced a technician, voice tight with disbelief. "New Horizons Aya as well," called another. "Europa submersible just went dark." Within 90 seconds, all 78 deep space assets had gone silent simultaneously. "Server crash?" Eliza asked, already knowing it wasn't. "Negative. Signal termination is happening at source." They all stopped transmitting at once. Eliza stared at the silent feeds, her mind racing through possibilities. Cosmic ray burst. Solar flare. Neither explained the perfect synchronicity of the failures. "Get me the director," she ordered, already composing her explanation request in her head. She never got the chance to send it. Dr. Chen, the lab's security chief, appeared at her elbow. "You're being placed on administrative leave, effective immediately. All your credentials are temporarily suspended." "What? Why?" "National security protocol. That's all I'm authorized to say." 48 hours later, Eliza stood outside a dilapidated Victorian house on the outskirts of Baltimore, rainwater dripping from her hair as she pounded on the door. When it finally opened, she confronted a disheveled man with bloodshot eyes and 3 days' stubble. "Hello, James." Dr. James Okonkwo squinted through the gloom. "Eliza, what the hell? Something impossible happened and I need your help." He laughed bitterly. "Impossible is my specialty, apparently. Isn't that why the grant committee called my quantum research delusional wishful thinking? Can I come in? It's about the QEC prototype." His expression shifted from annoyance to wary curiosity. He stepped aside. James's living room had transformed into a makeshift laboratory. Circuit boards, soldering equipment, and quantum processor cores littered every surface. The quantum entanglement communicator, a device the scientific community had ridiculed, sat in the center, humming softly. "You kept working on it," Eliza observed. "No thanks to you or NASA," he replied, the old hurt evident in his voice. "You all abandoned the project when it got tough. James, every probe we have beyond lunar orbit went silent simultaneously 2 days ago. No explanation, no warning." He froze. "All of them. All of them. And they've revoked my clearance." She met his eyes. "But before they locked me out, I noticed something. The last telemetry ping from Voyager 3 contained a quantum signature that matched your theoretical predictions. Your QEC wasn't failing. It was working in ways we didn't understand." James's hands trembled as he pulled up data on his cluttered workstation. If the entanglement effect propagated through the deep space network, it would look exactly like what happened. Eliza finished. "Something about your quantum communication method triggered this." 12 kilometers above Earth, cloaked in gravimetric distortion fields, Commander Trallas of the Coalition Containment Fleet watched the primitive planet rotate below. The fleet's sensors parsed all electromagnetic transmissions, building a comprehensive profile of the species marked for potential extinction. "Infiltration Team 1 is ready for deployment," his second informed him. "Proceed," Trallas ordered, still disturbed by the briefing they'd received. Humans had achieved in decades what took most species millennia, yet they still fought tribal wars and depleted their own resources. The contradiction was unsettling. On his view screen, humanity's internet revealed their chaotic nature. Billions of simultaneous conversations, arguments, creations, and connections. A cacophony no coalition species would tolerate. First Infiltrator Vexlera requests final briefing, the communications officer announced. Trallas nodded, and the legendary operative's hologram appeared before him. Like all mimics, her natural form was elegant and vaguely insectoid, though she could reshape her molecular structure to match any species. "Mission parameters confirmed," he told her. "Primary objective: infiltrate and assess the quantum entanglement breakthrough. Secondary objective." He hesitated. "I understand the secondary objective," Vexlera said quietly. "If containment fails, I am to initiate extinction via the embedded stellar resonance devices. The humans must not leave their system, Trallas reminded her. 17 civilizations depend on our success. Vexillara's form already began shifting, her iridescent exoskeleton melting into pale human skin. I have never failed the Coalition, she said, her voice changing to match her new form. I will not start now. Vera Lee adjusted her glasses, a needless human affectation for someone whose vision could perceive the ultraviolet spectrum. 3 weeks into her infiltration of the MIT Quantum Physics Department, and Vexillara still found herself adding unnecessary mannerisms to maintain her cover. Coffee, Dr. Chen offered, sliding a steaming cup across the cluttered lab table. Thank you. Vexillara accepted, mentally activating the filtration membranes she'd installed in her ersatz human digestive system. Caffeine was mildly toxic to her true physiology. The laboratory basement that housed their unsanctioned research had become a second home to the small team. James hunched over quantum processor cores, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces with surprising grace. 2 graduate students argued over equations that stretched across 3 whiteboards, their excitement palpable as they crossed out and rewrote variables. I still don't understand how you convinced the head of security to give us access, James said, not looking up from his work. I can be persuasive, Vexillara replied. In truth, she had used a mild neurotoxin to make the security chief compliant. The Coalition would have preferred she simply terminate everyone involved with the research, but her mission required understanding exactly what these humans had stumbled upon. The quantum entanglement communicator pulsed in the center of the room, its behavior increasingly erratic since they'd modified the phase shift algorithms 2 days ago. It's beautiful, Dr. Chen murmured, watching the quantum fluctuations dance across the monitoring display. We're breaking entropy barriers in ways that should be mathematically impossible. Vexillara suppressed a shudder. That casual observation was precisely what had sent the Coalition into panic. These humans were dismantling universal constants with the nonchalance of children playing with blocks. Got it, James suddenly shouted, his face illuminated by the success indicators flooding his screen. The entanglement field isn't collapsing. It's propagating. Every quantum-sensitive device that receives the signal becomes part of a cascading network. Everyone gathered around his terminal, and Vexillara felt her heart stutter. The humans had just described the vulnerability in the Coalition's entire FTL communication network, a network that connected 17 civilizations across thousands of light years. We need champagne for this, one of the graduate students declared, pulling a bottle from a mini-fridge. As corks popped and humans celebrated, Vexillara found herself handed a plastic cup of bubbling liquid and pulled into a group hug. The physical proximity triggered her empathic sensors, an evolutionary feature of her species designed for combat assessment, and she was flooded with their emotions: joy, triumph, excitement, pride. No fear, no greed, no awareness of the weapon they'd created. Just pure discovery. Something shifted in Vexillara's carefully compartmentalized mind. Infiltrator Vexillara. Report status. Commander Trallas's voice filled her temporary housing unit that night. Subjects have achieved breakthrough understanding of quantum network propagation, she stated flatly. They are approaching Coalition 4th-level physics comprehension through entirely novel methodology. Extinction recommendation. The question hung in the darkness. Standard protocol demanded an immediate affirmative. Negative, she replied instead. Their approach contains valuable insights. Recommend continued observation. Silence from orbit. The Security Council has detected similar breakthroughs in 7 separate human research centers. This parallel development is unprecedented and deeply concerning. That's what makes them valuable, Vexillara argued. They don't think like us. Their chaos breeds innovation. You sound impressed. Trallas noted, suspicion evident. I am studying them objectively, she countered. Isn't that my mission? Your mission is to protect the Coalition. Supreme Counselor Drevnar has personally requested an update. Vexilera's blood cooled. Drevenar's involvement meant the preservation faction was winning the internal debate. "Tell him I require more time," she insisted. "Time is precisely what we fear giving them," Trallas replied. "The Security Council votes tomorrow on immediate intervention versus continued observation. Your report will influence that decision." After the communication ended, Vexilera stood by the window of her apartment, watching humans move through their short, frenetic lives below. They had no idea their mathematical games were reshaping the power dynamics of a galactic civilization. For the first time in her 3-century career, Vexilera questioned whether her mission served justice or fear. The deafening blast threw Dr. Chen against the laboratory wall. Emergency lights flickered as chunks of concrete rained from the ceiling. Through ringing ears, she heard James shouting her name. "What happened?" She coughed, tasting blood and dust. "Something hit the main building." James helped her up. His face streaked with grime. "The whole east wing is gone." Vera, who had been monitoring communications, burst through the door, her typically composed demeanor shattered. "We need to leave. Now." "There are people upstairs," Eliza protested. "They're gone," Vera stated with chilling certainty. The entire research division was the target. Before either scientist could respond, Vera's phone illuminated with emergency alerts. Similar meteorite impacts had struck research facilities in California, Beijing, Moscow, and London, all housing quantum physics laboratories. "This isn't a coincidence," James whispered. "No," Vera agreed, something shifting in her eyes. "It's extermination." A second explosion, closer this time, knocked out the remaining lights. In the darkness, Eliza felt Vera's hand close around her wrist with inhuman strength. "I've made a choice," Vera said, her voice changing, resonating with harmonics impossible for human vocal cords. "One I cannot unmake." Light emanated from Vera herself, a soft bioluminescence revealing that her skin was flowing, restructuring. Her entire body elongated, features shifting into something elegant and alien, her skin taking on an iridescent quality like oil on water. James stumbled backward. "What the hell are you?" "I am Vexilera, infiltrator first class of the Galactic Coalition," she answered, her transformation complete. Standing before them was a 7-foot-tall humanoid with luminescent skin and compound eyes that reflected the emergency lights like faceted gems. "And I'd just betrayed 17 civilizations to save 2 humans." A third explosion rocked the Foundation. "Coalition dropships," Vexilera explained, pulling a metallic sphere from somewhere within her transformed body. "Strike team executing cleanup. They're targeting anyone with knowledge of your quantum breakthrough." "Why?" Eliza demanded, still processing the revelation. "Because your discovery threatens everything." Vexilera activated the sphere, projecting a holographic map of the building with evacuation routes. "There's no time to explain fully. The Coalition believes humanity has accidentally uncovered computational principles that could unravel the fabric of galactic civilization. My mission was to assess, and, if necessary, assist in your extinction." "And now?" James asked, eyeing the alien with a mixture of fascination and terror. Vexilera's expression was unreadable. "Now I help you escape. Your minds work differently than ours, chaotically, intuitively. That might be our salvation rather than our downfall. But first, we must survive." She gestured toward the quantum entanglement communicator. "Bring what you can of your research. We have approximately 7 minutes before the tactical team breaches this level." They fled through maintenance tunnels as the research facility collapsed behind them. James cradled the quantum processor core in his arms like a child, while Eliza carried their encrypted research data. Above, the night sky flashed with what the news would later call meteor showers. "Transportation acquired," Vexilera announced, approaching an unmarked van in the facility's emergency evacuation area. The security guard inside stared straight ahead, unresponsive. "It's he." Eliza couldn't finish the question. Neurologically suspended, Vexillera replied, helping them inside. He'll recover in approximately 10 hours with no memory of our interaction. As they drove away, the full scope of the attack became clear through emergency broadcasts. Research centers worldwide lay in ruins, thousands dead, governments scrambling for explanations. They're calling it a coordinated terrorist attack, James said grimly, checking his tablet. Vexillera navigated with unnatural precision. Your military organizations will soon realize the projectiles came from orbit. When that happens, your species will unite against an external threat far more quickly than our models predicted. Where are we going? Eliza asked. To the one place my people won't expect, Vexillera answered. A Cold War-era quantum physics laboratory, abandoned but still shielded against external scanning. Why are you helping us? James finally asked the question they'd been avoiding. Vexillera's compound eyes reflected passing streetlights like kaleidoscopes. Because in 3 weeks of observation, I witnessed more intellectual courage and collaborative innovation than in 3 centuries of coalition history. Your species doesn't fear the unknown. You race toward it. That capacity may be exactly what the galaxy needs. Frost-laden wind whipped across the Siberian tundra as Eliza tightened the last connection on their makeshift quantum array. After 3 weeks in the abandoned Soviet research bunker, the team had expanded to include Major Katerina Volkov, a skeptical Russian military intelligence officer who'd tracked their movements, and Lin Zheng, a teenage hacking prodigy who'd identified patterns in the global attacks before government agencies could connect the dots. Power levels stable, James announced from his workstation, breath fogging in the cold air. Despite the bunker's ancient heating system, the temperature never rose above 50 degrees. I still don't understand why aliens capable of interstellar travel fear what we've created, Katerina said, cleaning her sidearm with methodical precision. She'd appointed herself the group's security officer, despite her lingering suspicions about Vexillera. Because you solved it backward, Vexillera replied, manipulating holographic symbols that hovered above her 6-fingered hands. Coalition civilization spent millennia developing computational frameworks built on quantum certainty principles. You humans stumbled upon an approach that treats quantum uncertainty as a feature, not a limitation. Lin, typing furiously at his jury-rigged terminal, looked up. Like how jazz musicians use improvisation instead of following sheet music exactly. Vexillera's compound eyes shifted in what they'd learned was her equivalent of a smile. An apt analogy. The coalition builds perfect symphonies. Humanity plays jazz. The quantum entanglement communicator pulsed in the center of their makeshift lab, its behavior increasingly stable since they'd recalibrated it to function in the extreme cold. The temperature, it turned out, reduced quantum decoherence by orders of magnitude. I think we're ready, James said, nervousness evident in his voice. Eliza nodded, her hand hovering over the activation sequence. This either works or we've wasted 3 weeks while the world thinks we're dead. The test was simple in concept, but revolutionary in implication. Using the quantum entanglement field to transmit information faster than light without collapsing the quantum state, something coalition physics declared theoretically impossible. Eliza pressed the sequence. The device hummed, its core glowing with unnatural blue light. Receiving station activated. Lin confirmed from his console. The second half of their experiment sat 5,000 kilometers away in an automated weather station they'd hacked. Everyone held their breath as the quantum field expanded. On Lin's screen, data appeared, information they'd never transmitted through conventional means. It worked, James whispered. Signal received instantaneously without field collapse. But Vexillera wasn't celebrating. She stared at the readings, her skin shifting to a pale blue, a sign of extreme distress in her species. This is worse than I thought, she said quietly. You haven't just created faster communication. You've proven the universe's fundamental laws can be locally modified through targeted quantum manipulation. Meaning what exactly? Katerina demanded. Meaning reality itself is programmable, Vexillera explained. Throughout Coalition history, civilizations that discovered this principle either destroyed themselves through runaway experiments or became conquest targets. But none approached it the way you have, through intuitive leaps rather than systematic advancement. Eliza's mind raced with implications. If quantum fields can be manipulated to modify physical laws locally, then we can create a defensive shield. James finished her thought. One that prevents Coalition technology from functioning within Earth's vicinity. Lynn's fingers flew across his keyboard, like changing the operating system so their programs can't run. Precisely, Vexillera confirmed. But it requires broadcasting from multiple points globally to create a stable field. Katerina straightened, her military mind immediately grasping the strategic implications. We'd need at least 6 broadcast nodes on different continents, all synchronized through the quantum link. And Coalition forces will be hunting for any quantum signatures, Vexillera added. They've already launched their first strike. The invasion fleet will arrive within 14 days. The group fell silent, the magnitude of their task settling over them. Then we split up, Eliza decided, her voice firmer than she felt. Teams of 2, each taking components to establish broadcast nodes. We'll coordinate through the quantum link which they can't intercept. Katerina nodded appreciatively. Guerrilla tactics against a superior force. Classic asymmetric warfare. With one crucial advantage, James added, pointing to their breakthrough data. We're fighting with weapons they don't understand and can't anticipate. For the first time since the attacks, Eliza felt something like hope. The same emotion that registered on Vexillera's skin as it flushed with warm amber hues. My people believe chaos leads only to destruction, the alien said softly. You're showing me it can also lead to salvation. Thunder rumbled across the Australian outback as Eliza and Lynn calibrated the 4th quantum node inside an abandoned mining facility. Sweat beaded on Eliza's forehead despite the facility's cooling systems. Node 4 online, Lynn announced, his young face illuminated by the quantum core's pulsing light. Synchronization at 87% and holding. Through their secure quantum link, status updates flowed in from the other teams. James and Vexillera had successfully activated the European node beneath the Alps. Katerina and Dr. Epay Patel, a quantum theorist who'd survived the initial attacks, had the Asian node operational in an underground facility in Thailand. But the North American node had gone silent 12 hours ago. Still nothing from Sanchez and Wilson, Eliza asked, though she already knew the answer. Lynn shook his head grimly. Last transmission indicated Coalition hunters had tracked their quantum signature. They had 9 days until the invasion fleet arrived. 3 nodes active, 1 compromised, 2 still to be established. We proceed, Eliza decided, her voice tight. Antarctica next. Commander Traulas reviewed the holographic battlefield projections with growing concern. His infiltration teams had eliminated 1 human broadcast node, but 3 others had come online before they could be intercepted. The humans are adapting to our tactics, his security chief observed. They're using their own satellite networks to triangulate our dropships. And the infiltrator Vexillera? Traulas asked. Still assisting the humans. Her knowledge of our protocols has proven problematic. Traulas's exoskeleton vibrated with suppressed rage. The Security Council's response had been catastrophically slow. The Preservation faction had sufficient authority to launch surgical strikes against research facilities, but not enough to deploy the full military response required to contain a planetary civilization that now knew it wasn't alone. The Armada arrives in 9 standard cycles, he reminded his officers. We must prevent these quantum nodes from becoming operational before then. A communications officer interrupted with an urgent update. Commander, we've detected a new type of quantum field emanating from the established nodes. It's expanding. The Antarctic wind howled outside as Eliza connected the final circuit board of the 5th node. Their fingers numbed despite insulated gloves. She and Lynn had worked through 18 hours straight. Synchronization complete. Lin confirmed, his voice raspy from exhaustion. All active nodes are now operating as a unified field. Through the quantum link, James's voice came through with perfect clarity despite being half a world away. The field is propagating faster than we calculated. Global coverage at 60% and accelerating. Eliza allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before reality intruded. But without the sixth node in North America, the field will remain unstable. Actually, Vexilera's voice joined the link. I've been analyzing the propagation patterns. The humans in your military organizations have begun coordinating a global response more efficiently than coalition models predicted. They're tracking coalition ships using your primitive radar systems combined with quantum field disturbance readings. Meaning what? Katerina demanded. Meaning they're improvising their own version of the sixth node, Vexilera explained, a note of wonder in her voice. Multiple smaller installations rather than one central node. Inelegant but functional, quintessentially human. The Coalition Armada emerged from hyperspace with magnificent precision, 500 warships arranging themselves in battle formation above Earth. Supreme Counselor Drevnar himself commanded from the flagship, his ancient eyes surveying the primitive planet. Begin the pacification sequence, he ordered. Targeted strikes only. We require specimens and technology for study. But as the first wave of strike craft entered the atmosphere, something unprecedented occurred. Their quantum navigation systems failed simultaneously. Weapons systems went offline. Communication arrays dissolved into static. What is happening? Drevnar demanded. His science officer stared at readings in disbelief. The humans have created a quantum field that's rewriting local physics. Our technology depends on principles that no longer apply within Earth's gravity well. On view screens throughout the Armada, humans' primitive aircraft rose to engage the suddenly vulnerable coalition vessels. Missiles, chemical propellants, and explosive warheads, technology the coalition had abandoned millennia ago, remained perfectly functional. The coalition's most advanced warship in 50,000 years was crippled by technology that should never have worked. Full retreat, Drevnar ordered, his voice hollow with the realization that everything the coalition had feared about humanity had been proven true. And may whatever gods exist have mercy on us all when they follow us home. This is insanity, General Harrison growled, pacing the secure bunker beneath the Pentagon. 6 weeks had passed since the Coalition Armada's retreat, 6 weeks of frantic global cooperation, unlike anything in human history. Perhaps, Eliza conceded, but waiting for them to return with adapted technology is guaranteed suicide. The quantum defense field held, but Vexilera had confirmed the coalition would be developing countermeasures. Their advantage was temporary. You're proposing we send a delegation, humans, into the heart of a civilization that just tried to exterminate us, the general continued. In a retrofitted craft based on technology we barely understand. It's our only viable option, James countered. They expect us to cower or prepare for the next attack. They don't expect diplomacy. Vexilera stepped forward, her iridescent form startling against the bunker's gray walls. The coalition's governance structure is fracturing. My contacts report 17 species arguing over the failure of the Earth campaign. This presents an opportunity. The contacts were coalition officers who had been stranded on Earth when the Armada retreated. Several had chosen to share intelligence rather than face summary execution for their failure. What guarantee do we have they won't simply destroy your ship on approach? Asked the Chinese representative on the Joint Military Council. None, Eliza admitted, but we'll be piloting the ship through quantum-modified space the entire journey. Their standard weapons won't function against us, the same advantage that defended Earth. The Russian delegate leaned forward. And how exactly do you intend to reach this coalition hub? James activated a holographic display showing a modified space shuttle surrounded by a quantum field bubble. Vexilera provided coordinates. Their central ring world orbits a neutron star approximately 1,500 light-years from Earth. Using our quantum propulsion system, we can create a temporary wormhole through modified spacetime. The journey would take 3 days rather than millennia. Silence fell as the implications sank in. Humans were about to attempt interstellar travel. Who would go? The general finally asked. A small team, Eliza replied. James and I understand the technology. Vexillera can navigate coalition space, Major Volkov for security. And we'll need a formal diplomatic representative with negotiation authority. The discussion continued for hours, but the decision had effectively been made before the meeting began. Earth could not survive another coalition attack. Their only hope was the unexpected. The journey through quantum-modified space defied description. Reality itself seemed to ripple around their vessel as they traversed distances that should have taken thousands of years to cross. When they emerged, the coalition's capital structure left even Vexillera speechless. The ring world stretched across their view screen, a perfect circle spanning thousands of kilometers, orbiting a pulsing neutron star that bathed everything in rhythmic blue light. 17 habitation zones, Vexillera explained, indicating different segments of the massive structure, one for each coalition species. It's magnificent, Ambassador Richardson whispered. The veteran diplomat had been selected to represent Earth, her decades of crisis negotiation experience deemed essential for their mission. And heavily armed, Katerina noted, scanning the defense systems that bristled across the ring's exterior. Approach instructions arrived almost immediately, transmitted on frequencies only Vexillera should have known. The message was simple. Infiltrator Vexillera and human delegation proceed to diplomatic dock Alpha 7. Deviation will result in termination. They're not shooting, James observed wryly. I count that as a good start. Their craft, renamed Prometheus, docked within a massive hangar where representatives of at least 6 different species waited in formal arrangement. Armed guards flanked them, their weapons noticeably primitive compared to usual coalition technology, likely selected to function even within the human's quantum field. Remember the plan, Eliza whispered as the airlock cycled. We're not here to apologize for surviving. We're here to change the paradigm. Ambassador Richardson nodded, straightening her shoulders as the door opened. I propose we start with hello and work our way up to galactic revolution. The coalition delegation stared in barely concealed shock as humans set foot on their capital for the first time in history, not as specimens or prisoners, but as a diplomatic mission from a civilization that had defeated their most powerful armée. Supreme Counselor Drevmar himself stepped forward, his ancient exoskeleton gleaming under the artificial light. You have traveled far to reach us, he said, his translator converting the complex harmonic language into English. Farther than any species has ever come uninvited. Richardson met his compound gaze without flinching. We come with a proposal that will either begin a new chapter in galactic history or end it. 5 years later, Ambassador Chen stood on the observation deck of the GCS Prometheus II, watching Earth recede to a blue marble against the velvet black of space. The newly commissioned vessel represented everything the Galactic Cooperative stood for. Technology and design contributions from 18 species, including humanity as its newest member. Nervous? James asked, joining her at the viewport. Their relationship had evolved alongside interstellar politics, 2 scientists bound together by shared history and purpose. Excited, Eliza replied. First official exploration mission beyond cooperative space. I never imagined we'd come this far so quickly. The 5 years since their diplomatic mission had transformed galactic civilization. The open-source Galaxy initiative they had proposed in that tense first meeting had initially scandalized the Coalition Council. The idea that dangerous knowledge should be shared openly rather than controlled went against 50 millennia of Coalition doctrine. But the evidence had proven irrefutable. Every civilization that had discovered the quantum principles humans stumbled upon had been destroyed not by the knowledge itself, but by the power struggles to control it. Captain Chen, we're ready for quantum transition when you give the order. The navigator's voice came through the ship's communication system. Strange to hear that title, Eliza murmured. Her diplomatic rank had been formalized. But the cooperative had insisted she command this historic mission. Scientist to ambassador, to starship captain in 5 years. They trust you, James said simply. You showed them another way was possible. The bridge of Prometheus I represented the new reality. Vexillara stood at the science station, her natural form now a source of fascination rather than fear for the human crew. 2 coalition security officers, once hardliners who had advocated for Earth's destruction, now served proudly alongside former enemies, their respect hard-earned. Enter quantum space on my mark, Eliza ordered, taking her command chair. Destination: the Sagittarius Stellar Incubator. The revolutionary drive engage, creating a controlled manipulation of local physics, once feared as a weapon, now harnessed as humanity's gift to galactic exploration. The starfield outside stretched and folded as the ship entered the quantum corridor. Transition complete, the helmsman announced. Journey time to destination: 43 hours. Well within safety parameters, Vexillara added, her voice carrying harmonics of satisfaction. The quantum stabilization field is performing beyond theoretical limits. In her private moments, Eliza still marveled at how completely things had changed. The collapse of the old coalition had been dramatic but ultimately peaceful. The preservation faction's centuries of deception, including the true story of Drevenar's species, had finally been exposed. The Arhan people hadn't been destroyed by a computational breakthrough, but by their government's attempt to weaponize it in secret. When the truth emerged during Earth's diplomatic mission, the resulting constitutional crisis had opened the door for genuine reform. Incoming transmission from Cooperative Central, the communications officer announced. Priority message for Ambassador Chen. The view screen activated to show a face Eliza had come to respect. Tier, the reformist leader who had replaced Drevenar as head of the new Cooperative Council. Ambassador. Tier's translated voice filled the bridge. Our deep space monitoring network has detected something extraordinary. A transmission from the Andromeda galaxy bearing mathematical signatures remarkably similar to humanity's original quantum signal. The bridge fell silent as the implications became clear. You're saying another species, completely independent from our galaxy, has made the same discovery? James asked. Precisely, Tier confirmed. The old coalition would have quarantined or destroyed them. The Cooperative Council is unanimous in recommending first contact instead. Eliza felt the weight of the moment. Adjust our course as soon as we've analyzed the transmission. Humanity's first diplomatic mission beyond our galaxy will carry the most important message we've learned. That which we feared most may become our greatest strength when shared rather than suppressed. As Prometheus I altered its journey toward an unexpected destination, Eliza thought about the chain of events set in motion by that first accidental signal. Human chaos and creativity had not only saved Earth, but transformed a stagnant galactic civilization, built on fear into one founded on collaboration. The signal that shattered their confidence, James mused, reading her thoughts as he often did, became the foundation for something better. Around them, the quantum corridor pulsed with possibility as humanity carried its unique gift to the stars. Not conquest or control, but the revolutionary idea that the universe's greatest mysteries belong to everyone brave enough to explore them together.